All right. I think this is the day. I think this is the day that I'm going to start my prep positioning phase. At the beginning of the year, I cut about 20 pounds to get myself in just a better position to gain for the year without gaining, kind of an excessive amount of body fat. And since then, I've put on, about half of that back, like 10 pounds. And it's been a great gaining phase. I did that with the plan in mind that it would come to this point at this time of the year where I would take that 10 pounds off again, and that puts me in within like a 10% body weight striking distance of my stage weight instead of being, a little bit higher, because the last prep that I did, I cut for 9 months straight, and it was an experience, man. Like, cutting for 9 months straight like that was an experience. But this time, what I'm gonna do, get myself within like I said, a 10% body weight range of contest prep ahead of time, so that I can take a little bit of a break, like, so that I can, have some time where I'm eating at maintenance calories before I really start to dig into, that last 10% of my body weight. So that's the plan. And, I was just feeling, today is like our day off, Mondays are our day off. And I was just feeling like today's the day to start to get that 10 pounds off. It'll probably only take like 4 weeks, probably. I'm weighing 195-ish right now. Get down to 185. Stage weight's probably around 165. Hopefully a little bit higher. Last year my stage weight was around 165, but I definitely want to get leaner this year. So hopefully, with the amount of mass that I've put on in the last, 3.5 years, it'll result in a little bit higher of a stage weight. But like I said, I'm definitely trying to get leaner. So that's the hope, maybe hop on stage around 165, much leaner than 2022, but with more muscle mass. So I'm excited for that. Probably the thing I'm most excited for is to see the results of my legs. If there's been one muscle group that I have prioritized this last year, like if I was going to miss a workout 1 week, for example, I made darn sure that it wasn't my legs, because I really felt like that was just a part of my body that I wanted to put more work into, and take to like that next level. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I've had a lot of fun training legs. Obviously I've trained legs all the way up to this point, the last 11 years of lifting, but I've put in some extra effort, and I'm excited for it. I've had a lot of fun training legs. It's been my favorite muscle group to work out, honestly. Yeah, especially in, quad development. I've really noticed a lot of gains in that department, hamstrings, glutes. So I'm excited for it. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, and honestly, I'm just kind of excited to kind of get rolling. This is the time of year where we start to, we're full-time campus ministers as well, right? So this is the time of year where things really start to pick up, in speed, and, things start to get going again. All the students are coming back, we're planning a lot for the ministry, and I'm just really looking forward to this season, so I'm just feeling motivated all around in life right now. We've had a great summer, we've had awesome times with family and friends, and a break from the grind of the school year, you know, and the campus, and just really excited. And a lot of other, you know, ministers that I know have already started their school year. So it just, you know, makes me itch to get it started. So yeah, it's going to be a great time. So I plan on, you know, as usual, kind of documenting things along the way for me to look back at, you know, and to share with you guys. And, you know, I know there are plenty of you guys that are out there looking to, you know, do their first bodybuilding show, you know, or you're an aspiring bodybuilder, and hopefully you can learn some things from this process along the way, be inspired a little bit. But yeah, this is going to be a great time. So today we're on our way to the gym. It's actually an upper body session today. I've been doing an upper lower body split for quite a while now. But you know, upper lower for a couple years at this point. When I first moved to Seattle, I was on an upper lower hybrid, you know, upper lower PPL hybrid, 5 days a week, but I was pretty consistently missing 1 day a week for a little while, so I switched, you know, my volume around to 4 days a week, and have been doing an upper lower version 1 version 2 split for, you know, ever since then, and it's been a couple years now. So considering switching things up again, you know, and things have been different as well after having, you know, our first kid. She just turned 1. So I'm considering switching some things around and seeing what it would be like to go back to 5 days a week. And it's cool too because my main ministry is at the gym too. That's the main way that I meet people, share my faith with people, invite people to, you know, our campus ministry, church. And so it's a method of living out my faith for me too, which is really cool. I feel like God's really used that in the past few years. So I'm like, hey, maybe extra time at the gym would be good, you know, if it's part of my job. And so I'm considering that, the 5 days a week. We'll see, you know, we'll see how we feel. But for today, upper body, I've been hitting this lower chest press machine for a while. That's just felt really good. I had an injury in my chest years and years ago, and you know, my chest just, you know, it can get strained a little bit easier than other body parts because of that. And my family has a history of Ehlers-Danlos disease, and I think that it's like an elasticity disease kind of thing, you know, like too much elastin, not enough collagen, so things, you know, can get, you know, misplaced in your body a little bit easier. Things are a little stretchier, you know, like this is gonna kind of maybe freak some people out, but you know, one of the things is my skin is super stretchy. Like you can just grab that jazz and, you know, pull it out. It's like paper thin and pulls out really easily. It's kind of funny. But on that note, I have a hunch that there's something behind that with, you know, kind of the way my pec can get strained if I push it too hard over time. You know, like pretty much if I add back in a flat barbell bench, and I like really push it more than 5 weeks, almost always I get like a little bit of a strain, you know, in my left pec. So, you know, c'est la vie, it is what it is. You know, I have to adjust my range of motion in some of my presses because of that, you know, how heavy I go because of that, etc. So it's all right. It's just, you know, something I have to navigate around. But anyways, because of that, lower chest presses tend to feel a lot better for me, because the strain is more towards, you know, the kind of like tendon insertion of my pec on my humerus or my arm, right? So yeah, the lower chest press seems to feel a lot better. And it's just fun to push heavier weight, you know. It gets kind of old after a while just pushing lighter weight for a lot of reps. So it's just nice to push heavier weight. So I've been hitting this lower chest press. That's been feeling really nice. Looking forward to doing that today. And yeah, things should be good. Okay, so this is the lower chest press machine that I've been working with, and it's a matrix converging chest press, so it comes together as you push it out. The way that I like to set this up is put the seat on the highest setting so that the handle is right in line with like the bottom of my chest. And the way that I actually like to do the press, you guys saw a second ago, I like to arch my back a little bit, so it even brings my chest up a little bit more. Like I said, that just feels really good for me, you know, my chest. It didn't actually used to be that way. I actually used to like it a lot more when my chest was, you know, not arched. You know, I didn't have like this thoracic extension in my presses. My back was pretty actually flat against the bench a lot of the time. But like I said, just over time, that's what's felt better. That's what's kept my chest, you know, as injury-free as possible. So, you know, you'll hear all kinds of stuff about what's optimal, what's not, as far as chest exercises go, your technique. And you should take those things into account, but, you know, at the end of the day, you're gonna wanna do what feels best for your body too, right? And that's actually part of actually being evidence-based, you know? It's not just only looking at scientific studies, it's also taking into account like what your actual experience is, you know, whether you're working with other people or you're working with just yourself. Like, evidence is also like results, you know, and what has kept me in the gym in the long run. And so if I were to just veer off of all of that, you know, experience that I've gained over time and only look at studies, my, you know, what I would do would change like really often. And that's not optimal, to change what you're doing really often. So, you know, you just got to take things for what you've learned, you know, and take into account the evidence that continues to come around. Okay, another area that I was actually really pleased with my last prep and show is my V-taper. So the width of my back and the V-taper, you know, how wide my lats were, I really was pleased with that. Something that I felt like could use improvement was the development of my upper back musculature, you know, so the thickness of it, you know, even just how wide the actual like upper back musculature was, not how wide my frame was, but you know, just how overall big like my traps were, my mid traps, my lower traps, you know, like that whole area I would love to have, you know, developed more. And so that's something that I've been working on a lot. And what that's included is a lot of row variations that allow for a elevation, you know, of my shoulders when I do the row. A lot of people do their rows with their shoulders just depressed like this. That really helps engage the lats, but if you just allow your shoulders to come up when you row, it really helps to engage the traps, that musculature. A lot of wider grip, more flared elbow rows, you know, to help target my like rhomboids. And so that's been a lot of it. This row right here, this low row, is actually really awesome. Yes, it definitely hits the lats really well. But like I said, if you allow for just that elevation of your shoulders when you do it, you can really feel the traps engaged. So this has been big for me in the off season. And something else that happened between last show in 22 and now is I hit the rite of passage of 30 years old. So I have a lot of hopes, for my 30s. One of which, I hope happens, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen, is, I really want to earn my pro card in my 30s. So, we're working towards that. If that happens next year, awesome. If it happens any other time in my 30s, awesome. And even if it doesn't happen then, at least I give it my best shot, and maybe it'll happen in my 40s, but that's the goal, is, pro card in my 30s. So we'll see what happens. Another thing that's really great about being smart with my prep this time around and planning in advance and doing a, pre-prep kind of positioning phase is it helps me do something really important to me when I prep, which is just treat everybody around me with the respect and dignity that they deserve as individual human beings, and just being in a deficit for less time straight through, I think is really gonna help me to be less tempted to treat people with more selfishness, and so each time I prep, I definitely want to be better at, treating my family really well. I treat my best anyways, and then adding to that, treating everybody around me well. So I'll always have my slip-ups, my moments of, if even right now I have my moments of, slip-ups and impatience and everything like that, how much more so when I'm actually, food focused and hangry a lot. So this, it gives me an opportunity to help mitigate that as much as possible. All right, well, that was an awesome session. Chest felt good, back felt good, even hit some PR on the low row, and did 3 sets of 10 for 3 plates on each side, so that was awesome. Another thing about these updates for me, so because I'm a Christian, a minister, I don't post any shirtless photos, even if they're, of me on stage or anything like that. I have some convictions about, my body and, theologically the state of the world and all that kind of stuff. You can ask me about it sometime if you want. But so as far as that kind of data goes on updating, the journey, you're going to be able to tell differences in, like the leanness of, my arms, shoulders, maybe like across like my clavicles, upper back, that kind of thing. But, there's not going to be like true entire current state of my physique kind of photos, So I'm going to, what that forces me to do too is just share a lot of the data kind of analytics with you guys. you know, as far as like performance goes in the gym, and you know what I can expect, what I'm experiencing with that. You know, my actual body weight, right? I don't really keep track of body fat percentage. You know, a lot of people ask me what my body fat percentage is. You know, as I get down into prep, it honestly doesn't really matter. Like, the look is what mainly matters. So yeah, that's, you know, as far as my updates go. How often? Not really sure right now. I don't want to make any crazy commitments, especially because the school year is coming up. So I'm going to be, you know, grinding as far as work goes, and then, you know, obviously giving to all my clients, you know, in the ways that they deserve as well. And yeah, and then, you know, doing this bodybuilding thing, making sure my family's a priority, my relationship with God. So, you know, I just got a lot going on. But I do find this kind of thing, you know, fun. I do find, you know, talking to you guys fun, and updating people to be fun, and just sharing my journey. So, you know, when it doesn't feel like a big old chore, you know, to do it, is probably when I'll do it. But there'll be small updates along the way, you know, on Instagram especially. So there's that. So yeah, that's it. You know, the rest of the day, just gonna hang out with the family, eat some good dinner, probably start sharing some more of, you know, what I've been eating with you guys. So, you know, and what I do to kind of stay on top of my health, you know, supplements wise. Yeah. So we'll see what happens as we go. So let me know what questions you guys have in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Appreciate you guys, and looking forward to sharing the journey.